The biggest mistake Munger saw millionaires make. Have you ever looked at a millionaire and thought, I want what they have? We're constantly told to study their habits, read their books, and copy their every move. We buy the same products, follow the same trends, and listen to the same experts. We believe that if we just imitate their actions, we will get their results. The truth is, most of the advice you get from so-called experts is a lie. They tell you what to do: buy this stock, follow this strategy, join this course, but they never tell you the most important part of the equation. This is the simple but profound secret of Charlie Munger. For decades, he didn't just study success. He had a mental trick that allowed him to see the patterns of failure that even the smartest people fall into. He understood a fundamental psychological truth that getting rich is not about what you acquire, but about what you avoid. You see, the poor and the middle class are constantly being sold the same lie, that the path to wealth is through imitation. They are told to copy the habits of millionaires, to spend more, and to chase every new trend. But Munger knew that this kind of thinking is a trap. He discovered a single overarching principle that separates those who truly build wealth from those who stay stuck in a cycle of financial ruin. It's a principle so powerful that once you understand it, you'll start to see the world of finance with a clarity you never had before. This video won't give you a new investment strategy. It won't tell you to buy a new course. It will give you something far more valuable: the single mental principle that the rich used to get richer and that the poor used to get poorer. It's a truth so simple, it's almost invisible. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you're tired of making the same mistakes and you're ready to start thinking differently, go ahead and hit that like button to join the community. Block 1. The humility Munger had. Let's be real for a second. We all think we know a thing or two, right? We get an idea in our heads, and our brain's first job is to prove we're right. Munger saw that as a huge, flashing red sign of disaster. His secret weapon for reading thousands of books and actually getting smarter wasn't some speed reading trick. It was pure, simple intellectual humility. He had this brutal habit of looking for information that disagreed with him. He wasn't trying to be right. He was trying not to be wrong. And if you're not doing that, you're not learning, you're just confirming what you already believe. It's the number one reason why most people stay stuck. Part 1. The imitation trap. Most people believe wealth is about imitating success. The latest stock tip from a celebrity, the newest cryptocurrency trend, the hottest business strategy. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us that these acts of imitation are a sign of intelligence. This is the imitation trap. Our brains are wired for imitation. It's a remnant of our evolutionary past, where copying a successful leader meant survival. But in the modern world, this instinct has been hijacked by a relentless social media machine. We've been programmed to believe that wealth and success can be bought with a few clicks. The imitator's trap is a psychological one. It's the instant gratification of feeling like you're in the know, the temporary high of following a popular trend. And it's a trap Munger and Buffett avoided at all costs. Munger often spoke about the man in the treadmill, the person who copies others, hoping to get rich, but only ends up losing money. They are running faster and faster, but they are staying in the same place. Munger knew this was the road to ruin, and he refused to walk down it. He understood that this is a game you can't win, and the only way to succeed is to not play at all. Let's dive into the psychology of this. Munger would call this phenomenon social proof bias. It's a concept from psychology that says humans have a natural tendency to trust what the majority is doing. In the context of finance, this means that the thrill of a new trend is fleeting. You get a temporary spike in confidence because everyone else is doing it, but within a few weeks or months, the trend wears off, and you're left with the same level of financial stress you had before. Except now, you have less money and more mental clutter. The person on the imitation treadmill is constantly chasing this temporary high, believing that the next trend will be the one that finally makes them rich. But Munger's genius was realizing that the only way to win this game is to get off the treadmill completely. He understood that true, lasting wealth comes from an internal sense of purpose and from the freedom that comes with intellectual independence, not from the fleeting joy of a trendy possession. Hey, before we dive into the most valuable rule Munger ever taught, let's have a little fun. Munger was all about avoiding bad ideas. But what's one financial guru or trend that you think is a total mistake? Let me know in the comments below. Now, back to Munger.
But what caused the financial success was not extreme mobility. You know, I have a good mind, but I'm way short of prodigy. And I've had results in life that are prodigious. And that came from tricks. I just learned a few basic tricks from people like my grandfather.
What were those tricks?
What kind of... Now everybody's leaning in, wanting to know.
It's too late for you old guys. Yeah, anyway, but no, there are all kinds of tricks that I just got into by accident in life. One, I invert all the time. And when I was a weather forecaster when I was in the Air Corps. And how did I handle my new assignment? Being a weather forecaster in the Air Corps is a lot like being a doctor that reads x-rays. It's a pretty solitary. You're in the hangar in the middle of the night and drawing weather maps and you're clearing pilots, but you're not interfacing with a bunch of your fellow men very much. And so I figured out the minute I was actually making weather forecasts for real pilots, I said, how can I kill these pilots? Now that's not the question that most people would ask, but I want to know what the easiest way to kill them would be so I could avoid it. And so I thought it through in reverse that way, and I finally figured out, I said, there are only two ways I'm ever going to, I was in the ferry command, there are only two ways I'm going to kill a pilot. He said, I'm going to get him to icing his plane can't handle, and that will kill him. Or I'm going to get him someplace where he's going to run out of gas before he can land because all the airports are sucked in. And I just was fanatic about avoiding those two hazards. And if Kobe Bryant had had somebody like me, he'd still be with us. Yeah, it was so stupid to kill yourself that way. But just that basic, I may have learned that from my grandfather. My grandfather would say to me when I'm swimming, he'd say, swim as long as you want, but stay near the shore. Well, but you can laugh, but
No,
he was a very wise man.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is that you, as a discipline, look at what the risk is on the other side of the situation and you avoid that. That's one of the rules, right?
Well, it's just that it's like a lot of practical problems in algebra. If you invert, you can solve it easily. If you don't, you can't solve it easily.
Exactly right.
And so, of course, I had that trick very early. And most people, they say, how can you, please tell us what you do to save India or to help India. And of course, I would approach it differently. I'd say, what could I do which would most easily hurt India? And approaching it in reverse that way, I got better results.
You look at the vulnerabilities.
Yes. And
Part 2. The Munger Principle, the principle of inversion. The one principle that separates the wise from the foolish is the principle of inversion. It's a counterintuitive idea. Most people ask, what must I do to get rich? Munger would ask, what must I do to avoid being poor? This is a subtle but earth-shattering shift in thinking. The wise understand that true wealth is not about what you acquire, but about what you avoid. They don't have a head full of how-to advice. They have a checklist of what not to do rules. They practice the principle of inversion. This principle is a form of self-discipline, a rejection of instant gratification. It's the ability to say no to a small, immediate profit in order to avoid a massive, long-term loss. This principle allows them to take the information they would have spent on shallow trends and invest it in a deeper understanding that generates more wisdom. This is the difference between working for your knowledge and having your knowledge work for you. Munger and Buffett are famous for their frugal lifestyles. Buffett, for example, has lived in the same house he bought in 1958 for a fraction of what it's worth today. Munger lived in a modest home for decades. They understood that the money they saved today would be worth exponentially more tomorrow. They were masters of the principle of inversion. They didn't feel the need to broadcast their success through material possessions. Their ego didn't require external validation. This principle isn't just theory. It's a practice Munger and Buffett lived. Think about their early investments. When they were building Berkshire Hathaway, they had a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy a stake in a small, struggling textile company. Most investors would have dismissed it, but they applied the principle of inversion. They didn't rush in. They analyzed it for years. They held on to a seemingly worthless company for far longer than anyone thought was rational. They had the patience to wait for the business to transform, to find its true value. Their success wasn't built on a series of rapid-fire, brilliant decisions. It was built on the discipline of waiting, on having the wisdom to say the best thing we can do today is nothing. This is an idea that goes against everything the modern world teaches us. The world tells us to act now, to strike while the iron is hot. Munger and Buffett prove that sometimes the most powerful action is no action at all. This is where we must talk about what Munger called incentive cost bias. It's one of his most powerful mental models. Munger believed that human behavior is driven by incentives, and that these incentives can often cloud our judgment. The modern world is a master of creating incentives for immediate gratification. Credit card companies offer points and rewards. Marketing campaigns use emotional triggers to make you feel like you deserve that new purchase right now. These are all incentives designed to get you to abandon the principle of inversion. Munger's genius was in recognizing this. He created a system that fought against this bias. He incentivized himself for the long term. His incentive was not a new car, but the satisfaction of seeing a business grow tenfold over a decade. His reward was not a new gadget, but the freedom that came from a large cash reserve. He turned the conventional incentive structure on its head. Instead of chasing a small, immediate reward, he focused on avoiding the long-term pain of regret and debt. This is the ultimate application of the principle of inversion. It's not just about saying no. It's about understanding the psychological forces that are trying to trick you into saying yes. Part 3. The Munger checklist of things to avoid. So, how do you apply the principle of inversion in your own life? It's not about being cheap. It's about being strategic. Here is a simple checklist to guide your financial decisions. Checklist item 1. Avoid the herd mentality. Munger famously said, "You are not going to get rich by being a copycat." He understood that the masses are often wrong. Before you invest in a stock because everyone else is, or buy a property because it's a hot market, ask yourself, am I buying this because it's a good investment, or because I don't want to miss out? If the answer is the latter, walk away. Munger knew that the most profitable opportunities are often the ones that are unpopular or misunderstood. Checklist item 2. Avoid the I need it now trap. This is the ultimate self-sabotage. The modern world tells you to buy now and pay later. Munger's principle is the opposite. Pay now and enjoy later. Before you buy an expensive item, ask yourself, will this purchase bring me a return on my investment, or will it just be a liability? This forces you to think about the long-term consequences of your spending and to prioritize building assets over collecting liabilities. Checklist item 3. Avoid the smart people fallacy. Munger warned against the man with the hammer syndrome, a bias where you trust an expert because of their title, not their results. Don't assume a brilliant person will make a brilliant financial decision. Before you take advice, ask yourself, what are their incentives? Is their advice designed to help you, or is it designed to benefit them? Munger knew that if you don't understand the incentive, you don't understand the outcome. Checklist item 4. Avoid the my experience trap. We often get trapped by our own past success. Just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it will work in the future. Munger was a master of studying history. He looked at the mistakes of past investors, past empires, and past companies to avoid making the same blunders. Before you make a decision, ask yourself, what is the history of this situation? By learning from the failures of others, you can avoid a lifetime of mistakes. This brings us to a new rule, a 5th item for your checklist. Checklist item 5. Avoid the opportunity cost of ignorance. The biggest loss isn't the money you spend. It's the money you never made because you didn't know enough. Munger saw ignorance as the most expensive liability of all. He knew that the only way to avoid it was to constantly be learning. He was a master of this. He said he was paid for what he didn't do. He avoided bad decisions because he had a wide range of knowledge that others lacked. Checklist item 6. The inversion rule. Before making any significant financial decision, don't ask, how can I make money from this? Instead, ask, how can I lose money from this? This is the ultimate mental model. It forces you to remove your emotions from the equation and think with a rational, long-term perspective. It's a shortcut to wisdom and a powerful tool for avoiding the common pitfalls of your own biases. This leads us to a final, crucial point. Munger believed that avoiding mistakes is a strategic advantage. In a world obsessed with instant results and the hustle culture, a person who avoids bad decisions has an unfair advantage. The average investor is constantly trying to time the market, to find the next hot stock, to get rich quickly. This short-term thinking leads to impulsive decisions, high FEs, and ultimately, poor returns. Munger and Buffett, on the other hand, made a handful of great decisions over their entire careers. They bought businesses and held them for decades. Their success wasn't due to constant activity. It was due to a few well-thought-out moves and the incredible discipline of avoiding common mistakes. They were masters of waiting. They understood that in life, as in investing, the race is not always to the swift, but to the wise and the patient. This kind of patience requires a total rejection of the consumer's trap and a complete embrace of the principle of inversion. This is the single most powerful principle you can adopt. It's not about working harder. It's about thinking smarter. It's about using the principle of inversion to build a defensive strategy against financial ruin. Don't let yourself be a victim of the hustle culture lie anymore. Don't just work hard, work with purpose. And the first step is to learn to think differently. If this video helped you think differently, help us share Munger's wisdom with the world. Drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching. The Munger Almanac is more than just a channel. It's a guide to wisdom. We believe that true success comes not from what you know, but from what you choose to do or, in Munger's case, what you choose not to do. This is the secret that will change your life, and it's the secret that will change the way you think about success forever.